Hey, welcome back to our live stream. Today, we're going to dive into XRP, a lot of the money moves that they are making, and along with Ripple, and maybe how there has been a strategic plan all along for what's happening with Ripple and the SEC. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. Let's dive into it. Before we get started, I want to thank of course, our sponsor today, and that is iTrust Capital. If you guys are considering a tax position before the year end, or really before you start to do your 2021 taxes, and you need a place as a safe haven for an IRA that is a crypto IRA, iTrust Capital is the place for you. There's a lot that they're doing over there, and guess what? They just partnered with Fireblocks, which is a huge security add-on for them as well. And lots of stuff happening, I think, when you look at how people are planning to do their tax planning for next year. A lot of people are looking at tax loss harvesting. People are looking at taking some capital gains. Also, people are looking at exiting out of some IRAs and other assets and looking at moving into a crypto IRA. And of course, iTrust Capital is the way to do it. You can of course, invest in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polkadot, Chainlink, Cardano, and of course, physical gold over there. Very low cost, no setup fees, no monthly fees, 1% transaction. That's all you're paying for each trade, 24/7 investing, of course. Also, here's the kicker, which is the best one, and that is you get $100 in Bitcoin when you fund your first account. You can join quickly with just dropping your email in the link below, and that will get you at least started on your way to understanding how to move in that direction. All right, let's get into XRP today, because this is, I think there's something brewing here in the sense of just strategic scenarios. And I think a lot of people, when they look at XRP, most of the time they're following news, they're trying to understand the chart. We're going to break down all that. We're going to give you news, chart, and also the sentiment analysis for where XRP is right now, what it might look like toward year end. Remember, we do these market movers. The key thing here is this is not financial advice, but it is hopefully giving you some research that you can go out and do your own research. Maybe it's the first time you've looked at XRP as a project. Hopefully this is going to give you some ideas as to how to go. Let's talk about the first thing, and that is XRP and Luna sustains market gains as the market declines. This, of course, is something that we've been talking about for some time, and that is that when we start to see the market correct, typically XRP has been one that has also corrected with it. Now, it is and has been underperforming since its heydays of around $1.40 versus where it's trading right now. But for underscoring the market right now with Luna, is pretty impressive for this particular token, and had that little mini pump over the weekend. This is it a sign that we could see XRP in a preparatory model for what's going or could happen as we start to see the allocation of either institutional or people starting to do things like rebalancing their portfolios. All of these are strategies that are being utilized right now as people are starting to move into the new year and planning to move kind of to their next crypto investments. So the fact that it has stabilized along with Luna, pretty big story there. XRP remains up 60% this year despite the SEC drama. And again, these are headlines that continue to pour in on XRP and what's really kind of been holding. But you can kind of look at the data right here from CoinGecko, up 60%, what seems like largely a challenging year. If you look at it, if I was looking at something that was up 60% continuously throughout this year, that is still a big win for me. And of course, I'm an early XRP holder, so I am in that kind of scenario of seeing some pretty great returns on XRP. But I think the big question is going to be, what are the big guys doing, and will it really make a difference? XRP whales have added 190 million tokens to their stash over the last 3 months. Now, if we were going to see a market crash, or if we were going to see a massive fall off in Bitcoin and other altcoins, including Ethereum, start to correct, and we do see that cyclical model that we've seen over the past really 10, 12 years now, why would whales, who are some of the smartest guys out there, people, start really moving into XRP? There's something brewing here, and it's showing a lot of fainting toward, it's kind of like a great move in basketball. You can, the more you play to your strong suit, people start to pick those moves up, and I think that's what is the scenario here. But adding 190 million in tokens to their stash over the last 3 months, this is big for the sense of where are the big boys playing. So you can kind of see is currently sitting at about 81 cents. Smart money and whale millionaires have kept up their one-year trend of accumulating more supply. Addresses with 1 million to 10 million XRP right now hold 3.3 billion, including a 6% increase to their holdings in the past 3 months. Again, this is smart money following smart money. Once they understand kind of the ecosystem of what's happening in a project or in a particular model of what XRP and Ripple are trying to do on the global financial stage, it just simply says there's a lot of faith behind what's happening over at Ripple. And I'm in agreement in the sense that we will continue to see this kind of movement. More headlines: Ripple helped shift 265 million XRP, sending 150 million coins in one go. So this is another scenario of XRP hitting it in terms of big moves in the space. And they shipped 180 million. San Francisco DLT service company Ripple has shipped 180 million in XRP in 2 transfers. One of them, the largest among the aforementioned 5 transfers, carried 150 million in XRP. Again, these are moves that, and if you guys have not followed this particular Twitter account, Whale Alert, I would suggest that you do it. It's a good one to watch. Put it on your watch list. Set your Twitter alerts on it so it's going to prop up in your feed, and also maybe give you notifications on that. I use this as a really good tool in tracking some of the bigger movements within the whale community, and it often will start to indicate moves. Every time that this has happened, that I've started to see this among many other projects and cryptocurrencies that I track, whale alerts typically, I would say at better than 60 or 70% of the time, when I get a whale alert, something happens with that token, whether it's negative or positive, but there usually is enough movement in the whale world to kind of move in that direction of causing a little bit of movement within the project itself. Here is another thing that I think is very important for what's happening from a global perspective of how the rest of the world is moving so quickly toward a crypto universe and a crypto future. And this is a piece here by within Dubai World Trade Center to create a new crypto hub and become a regulator. This is a big news because of the fact that we're going to continue to see a lot more countries, and also, I think, to a certain extent, regions of the world that start to become hot zones for development. Now, if you think about what happened in the mid-1990s when the early stages of the internet were being born, and what the United States did at that time was embrace what was happening in what was and felt like a very Wild West scenario. We were seeing hacks. We had we'll call it cyber terrorism now, but back then it was just called, black hat and white hat hacking. And we saw massive movements into what was known as today as a rug pull. Back then, it was just simply a company that went out of business that, they were a balance sheet or a PowerPoint or Keynote company, meaning they literally had no business model and all they had was really an idea. Those are the kind of projects that we continue to see in blockchain. The key here, though, is whoever embraces that area of the new innovation and development that is happening, those are usually the winners. The United States, big winner on the internet. What is next up? Web3. Web3 is still an undetermined winner. Right now, you've got China moving into the digital yuan, but not pushing out the blockchain development companies. We talk to them all the time here. But you also have Europe moving quickly into blockchain development. Then you have the Middle East here with the UAE, of course, dropping in this deal with the DWTC, which is going to be a government-owned event and exhibition venue in Dubai, which will become a comprehensive zone and regulator for cryptocurrency products, operators, and exchanges. This was announced this week. So again, this goes and pushes back to the whole point that I've said many times before, and that is early players in these kinds of tectonic shifts that are happening in technology are very key in making the next era become something real. So make sure, by the way, if you guys have not put your questions in the chat, make sure and hit us up on the chat. Also, hit a like button on this if you love what you're seeing here on TechPath, whether it's this show or this video or others. We love to kind of get your feedback that way. I want to drop into what Changpeng Zhao said, which is basically CZ, the CEO of Binance. CEO says Dubai World Trade becomes comprehensive zone regulator. Again, this is back to the scenario of what I think is still one of the most powerful guys in blockchain. For him to kind of add fuel to this fire and continue to support these ecosystems outside the United States, it's showing that the rest of the world is moving without us. Now remember, Ripple has been putting together their essential recreation of the SWIFT monetary system of moving billions and trillions of dollars around us, around the banking system of the United States. Here's the interesting thing that has been happening, and that is that the U.S. banks now are starting to front-run regulatory preparation. What I mean by that is the banks that I've talked to, and we continue to get a lot of input on our own research, is that banks are starting to put these people, and we've reported on this multiple times, putting people in play from a regulatory standpoint. And when you look at not only that, but also kind of the evolution of where that leads to, it's going to lead to adoption and eventually regulatory approval through all of these different mechanisms. And I'll get to that in a moment. Here's another story. XRP holders to receive $1 billion? Yep, billion in the airdrop. It says crypto investment platform Sologenic. This is basically the drop right here. 1 billion airdrop XRP holders on the protocol's native token, an ecosystem that is built on the XRP ledger that tokenizes a wide range of assets. And traditional financial markets is planning to launch a new decentralized NFT marketplace on the ledger. This will be huge because they're using it as a stimulus to essentially supercharge the NFT platform itself. So those kinds of moves continue to give faith in me on understanding where Ripple is going as a much bigger ecosystem than just a replacement for Swift. We could see something in terms of a big NFT ecosystem coming soon. In order to juice the new marketplace ecosystem, Sologenic is dropping 200 million of its native token Solo to investors who had already held Solo or XRP. And then, of course, to claim the free Solo tokens, crypto investors hold their Solo and or XRP on centralized exchanges, which means you put it back in active wallets, and that are supporting the airdrop to create a trust line for their private wallet on Sologenic. Good move. I think it's a great, these are the kind of strategies that you'll continue to see in these kinds of projects that I think are going to be very interesting as we see Ripple and XRP move to the next level. Here's kind of one of the stories that just, again, drops back into the point that I'm making around, at some point, regulatory scenarios. And if you weren't watching last week when we saw regulators drilling and asking a lot of questions around the blockchain 6 that were up there on Capitol Hill, including the former CEO of Binance, and a lot of them asked it point blank, is the United States behind development, behind innovation? And many of those blockchain experts simply said, yes, we are behind, and the likelihood is we may not catch up. That is a big problem for the United States when blockchain and Web 3.0 really become a big factor. So you've got Ripple's Craig DeWitt, who is becoming the vice chair of the U.S. Faster Payments Council. Now, again, this gets Ripple back into the government and what's happening, and you can kind of see the story here developing. But Craig is essentially the new vice chair. Remember that Ripple had held this position prior to Craig. So he took on Twitter and basically shared the details on the appointment of the FinTech segment. Ripple's senior product director has become the vice chair of the United States Faster Payments Council. Again, this is one of those things, and look right here. This is the one that I think is most interesting. Investigating, let me see if we drop to that. Yeah. Investigating the CBDCs and the best class technologies to make them possible. This, to me, lends again to whether or not the United States can really keep up with the rest of the world as we continue to see these kinds of advancements in payment infrastructure and into the global monetary system, which is why I think you see a lot of countries kind of moving in this direction of very fast adoption, regulatory ease, and also the whole idea of how do you lure all of these innovators in. Can you imagine if you were able to get the innovators from Google, the innovators from Amazon, the innovators from Facebook into your country because of ease of use and welcome environment in terms of developers? Where would the internet have been had that happened in a different way? That's exactly what we're facing right here with what's happening with Web 3.0. Now, why is this important with Ripple? Because Ripple's regulatory fight with the SEC, this is going to be a paramount case decision, whether it is a situation where they settle or if it's a situation where some sort of regulatory measurement comes out into play. All of these things start to show up in terms of how the United States can play into the world monetary system when it comes to blockchain, when it comes to Web 3.0. This is a very, very critical movement. I continue to see Ripple making very interesting moves. You can kind of see the paint up that we did here with all the stories. But I would watch them very closely as we get into this. Let's jump over to the chart, and then we'll take some questions because I know we have some in the queue coming in. But I want to talk to the chart a little bit about this, kind of where it was when we did our last sentiment drawdown on Ripple, XRP, right here on December 4th. This was right after the fall that everybody, of course, had that flash crash. We pulled that sentiment. It was one of the lowest amplification scores we had seen in a while. And it did stabilize to a certain extent, but it did go somewhat flat. And then on this most recent little dip right here, which was right here on December 20th, and then we had that little move and then a little bit of a correction. That's what we saw over the weekend right here, which was this little flash rise on Ripple. But here's the interesting thing to watch when you look at some of these. Remember, amplification on December 4th, 68.01. This is a big move on amplification to 71 points. And of course, 72.06 on sentiment, that usually indicates long-term, people who are they're really behind the project. So that sentiment doesn't really change a lot when you have these big projects, kind of like Bitcoin or like Ethereum. Some of these have such a following that those kind of numbers don't really modify that much, even in a downturn market. What does get affected is amplification. Amplification is the one that I'm watching. So we anticipate we're going to see a little bit of a potential kind of swell in terms of the price point to adjust, but we do see some upward movement right here based on what we're seeing on amplification being so strong and also being in such a better position than where it was just on December 4th at the beginning of the month. So a lot happening with XRP. We could see by end of first week January, we could see that $1.11 with a high up here of around $1.29. So that's kind of our new top line for short period of where XRP is moving. And again, remember, a lot of there's absolutely going to be no decisions made on what's happening with the SEC between now and really probably first week of January. We may see some activity starting to evolve again because I think most of the regulators and also just institutions, for the most part, are starting to move out and go on holiday. This is going to be interesting to watch because the institutions will start doing some things like rebalancing their portfolios, taking a look at some of the dogs. It's something we talk about a lot here on the show is rebalancing your portfolio, taking that last, say, 20% of your underlying assets that are not doing well and either ejecting them for a tax write-off or a tax harvesting event, or repositioning and rebalancing and taking some of that capital that maybe you've had zero gains on or very little gains on and redeploying that capital into stuff that can start to move. By the way, we're going to be doing a couple of videos this week on those kinds of strategies, what to ready yourself for in early 2022 as we see potentials coming up in terms of big gains in altcoins and also some of the projects that I think are still emerging that may start to break out in 2022. All right, so let's get to some of the questions today to really kind of talk about, and that is Terry Ball. Do you really think that XRP is going to be a massive store of value as well as the utility it holds? I don't know that store of value would be the term I would use for XRP. I do feel like there is some aspects to what Ripple is doing from an overall standpoint, the infrastructure, the capacity for them to really shift the global financial system, especially if we get into the banking area here in the U.S. and we do get, clarity for what they were. When that occurs, then I think we'll start to see the element of XRP really play into this. Because as I said, there's a lot of front running going on right now with regional and big bank institutions of getting ready for regulatory management. And when you have that happening, I mean, these guys, sure, they spend money on a lot of, new hires and things like that. But when you start looking at blockchain regulatory management as a strategy, as a financial institution or as a regional bank, any of those, that starts to really point in the right direction to go in that. So I do believe that is going to be a big factor for Ripple. Okay, when do you think XRP will be relisted? Listen, the minute it jumps and we get some sort of notification on the SEC, I don't anticipate we're going to get a relist on any of the major exchanges at all. I think it's, the only way you're going to be able to get to it now is, in different ways, that either you've held it, you're moving it back into a wallet, into an exchange that maybe you use today. But I think it's going to be a while before we see that actually happen. The minute that it does, we will see XRP take a massive runoff. Now, what I would look at, just from a strategy standpoint, there will be a big push on that. So you should be thinking about what your exit plan, if you have one, or if you're a long-term XRP holder, what's your exit plan for it? Is it $2 or $3 when it triples? Is it $5? Whatever that number is for you, you should have an exit plan in place on any of these projects like this. Just be aware that you want to take a look at that. XRP Punk, nice to see XRP decouple a little bit from Bitcoin. Yeah, I think that's the point that they were making in that one news item, is that Luna and XRP both have started to really kind of have these little bit of shades of maybe not necessarily tied to Bitcoin. And there's a handful of projects that have also had that kind of run up as well. All right, so Catalina, people don't like XRP because it's centralized. I would argue that you take a look at the video that we did with one of their lead devs, and it's, if you just go to our channel and search XRP videos within the channel search, you'll find a handful of those, and you want to go to the one, I think there's about 500,000 views on this video, and it's one of the most intriguing interviews, I think, when you want to know really how the infrastructure is set up. He answers a lot of those questions around decentralization and centralization and how Ripple and XRP are organized. So I would suggest go look at that video. All right, BH, the whales are moving their tokens to pick up the solo airdrop. Could be the case. If that is the case, do you think they'll keep them there, or do you think they're going to look at potential, moving back to cold storage, or are they potentially looking at a way to exit because they're anticipating a run on XRP? Could be. Sarah, let's go to XRP only maintain its price due to the sologenic airdrop. Could be. Again, anytime you have these kinds of big news functions like this, immediately you'll see market action on a lot of these. And I think with XRP, we continue to see that. But the other factor that I really wanted to point out on this was Craig's appointment to this new payments council. And not new, but being able to get into that payments council and continue their effort on how XRP and Ripple will be represented there. I think that continues to show very consistent guidance and in a good way for what Ripple is trying to do strategically from a regulatory standpoint here in the U.S. So lots happening there. XRP could go to top 5 in capitalization, or could it go to top 5, I think is the question. I would say that it could be back up, maybe not top 5. I'm thinking more like top 7 or 8 in terms of capitalization. Again, all of this could be completely thrown out when and if we see some sort of regulatory assessment. And we will, it's not if, we will. But when we see that regulatory assessment by the SEC and how that's going to play in, because there's a lot of chess pieces moving behind the scenes here right now with both the SEC and what Ripple has up their sleeve. So it's going to be interesting to watch. Listen, if you guys are tuned in over on the podcast, we love to get your feedback over there as well. Here on the show, though, the best way to get involved is to join this Diamond Circle. Get over here to the YouTube channel, subscribe. Make sure and hit the bell for notifications because it'll update you on when we're doing live streams. Now, like this one. We're doing another live stream this week, which is going to be another giveaway, Christmas giveaway for the Diamond Circle. But you have to be joined to be able to get in the list. So when we do those digital assets reward giveaways, you're part of that. So make sure and join. It's really easy. Just click the link below. If you guys have an idea for the show or you have maybe a topic you'd like us to cover, just drop it in the links in case you watch this after the live stream. Or you can hit me up on Twitter @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.